Hello. Welcome to Tutors of Life podcast, where we research life so you don't have to. Episode 401. This is your host, Shaun Tutor.
And this is Sam. And this is a tutor episode where we try to teach you something new.
Do you think with the amount of time I spend barefoot that if we ever became popular, there would be a
Wiki feet page on you?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Nice.
That's why that one podcast I didn't have socks on. I was like, I have to put the blanket on my feet. I've not shown my feet on this podcast.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I got my dogs out non-stop.
Yeah, especially once it comes to summertime, then they're out.
Dude, half the days I don't even wear, I just have my work boots and a pair of socks on me if I need them. But I just spend my day in sandals.
I can't. I wear my sandals, but socks on.
Nah, dude. Gotta let them dogs out, dude.
No. Can't do it. Until I met Shaun, because Shaun made me stop, wore socks to bed.
Yeah, Sam would always have her feet covered up. It's disgusting. You gotta let those things breathe, dude.
And then Shaun changed me, and now I can't go back to that. But
Gotta have the dogs out.
I love socks on.
I have progressed over the years that I used to be able to even until I was probably 20 years old, I could sleep with my sheets tucked in, and so that I was in a cocoon, you know, I could have my sheets tucked in and my feet folded down at the end. And dude, I can't. Anywhere we go, I gotta pull them sheets out. I gotta let them fucking hang, dude. I can't stand it.
Yeah, Shaun hates when we stay at hotels because they tuck them in so tight.
But when I was in the guards, and I especially at basic training in AIT, I hated having to make my bed in the morning.
Oh, because you'd have to tuck it in.
Right. So people would destroy their beds and have to completely remake it in the morning. And I was like, dude, I'm way too tired in the morning to be fucking around with that. So I would just make my bed in the morning pristine. At night, I would fold up one side and I would slide in and I would just sleep like a mummy. Then in the morning, I'd wake up and just
So then you only had to refix that one side.
Well, I'd have to fix the bottom a little, fix it, but I wouldn't have to do a full remake of my bed unless for some reason I had a weird night of sleep where I went a little crazy, which happened about once a week.
And you'd also have your hair done the night before?
Not during basic. That was moving forward.
Oh, okay.
Once I got in my actual unit, I'd make sure my hair was done nice, and then I would just sleep without turning because I wouldn't want to mess up my hair.
How do you control that?
I don't know.
Because I can't.
No, I think if you subconsciously tell your body something, it'll be all right, I'll listen. So I'd just go to bed and I'd be you're not moving. And then I would just
That's wild.
Anyone can do it if they want.
That's what you say.
So yeah, this isn't about hair and feet. So we're going to talk about a topic.
Yeah.
All right. Something we don't talk about maybe often enough, but it's very, I almost just take it for granted. I almost just think that people do it. Is we always talk about having a good plan and studying and knowing shit, right? We talk about having a plan all the time. But you gotta take action. And we don't talk about that enough, I don't think. But it's not necessarily about just taking action and trying to follow the plan to 100%. You take action and the plan melds and forms. So you have a rough idea what you're going to do. Here's the thing. If you don't have an idea at all of what you're going to do, it's really easy to get lost. That's why I'm so big on having a plan, because then you at least have some guide rails to try and be in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are no. A very small few people just take action without having any sort of plan, which is cool, but it's an easy way to dig yourself into a hole that you were unaware that you were digging yourself into that hole. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So like having a rough plan and then just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Figure it out. If you get off track, oh well, figure out why you're off track. What can you do to get back on track? Do you even need to get back on track? Did you find out that this track's actually better than the plan you originally had, and then you just mend the plan to fit what you're currently doing?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all that, I was listening to the Joe Rogan Experience, and I did not mean to listen to this one. I was actually just finishing up Joey Diaz, and it popped to the next one with Robert Rodriguez. And within like the first couple minutes, I'm like, wait a second.
This is gold.
This dude is the director of Desperado. I'm like, what? And Desperado is like, it's up there on my fave films, dude. So anyways, this guy talks, and it's so true, and I actually, like, I really believe this a lot without talking about it much, is like focusing on a body of work. Mm-hmm. So his thing is like, don't blink, because you're going to take a lot of punches, so don't blink, and focus on a body of work. Okay. Focusing on a body of work, I don't know if is talked about much at all. Mm-hmm. We, in theory, have a good 50 years of working. Mm-hmm. Like a solid 50 years of working.
Yeah.
Okay. And depending on how ambitious you are, you might spread that to 60, 70, 80.
Yeah. Or how alive you are.
Yeah, that plays a big role. But like, I know dudes in their late 60s, in their 70s. Dude, I just met with a dude in his 70s the other day. He was mid 70s. Motherfucker's just getting it. Mm-hmm. He's got no end in sight.
Yeah, I think it's becoming a new norm. One, because it's hard to retire. But two, I think people are realizing that it's better for you to keep working.
Yes, the dude in his late 60s I was meeting with, you know, he's done a lot of things. He's just been self-employed since the 80s. Mm-hmm. He's done a lot of things. He's had a lot of success, and it led him into the current, you know, path he's on, the current thing he's doing. And like, he even says, like, he does a physical job. And he's like, you know, I'm thinking of retiring in the next year. He's like, but even when I retire, he's like, I'm still going to keep doing this. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm not going to do as much of it. He's like, but I'm going to still do it once a week. I'm going to still be doing shit. He's like, I just bought a new dirt bike. And it's just like, damn, dude. But, and then the gentleman in his 70s I was meeting with, he's in less of he's not really in a labor intensive blue collar job. He's in more of a white collar job. Mm-hmm. And I don't see that dude slowing down at all.
Yeah.
Like, he's just, anyways, this is what, remember when I met with Rob Majeski with Compass? Mm-hmm. This is like what he like lived his life by.
Yeah.
Is just focusing on a body of work. You don't know where something's going to take you. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily know the outcome. You don't know if it's going to be good. You don't know if it's going to be bad. But it's going to bring you somewhere, okay? And as you get brought through through life, it's going to open up different opportunities, going to open up different relationships, different successes, failures, things like that, which will then lead you to the person that you're supposed to be. Is that baby fussing?
Yeah.
That's not good.
I'm gonna go put her nook in.
Dang,
Keep going.
dude. All right. So with your body of work, what we need to think about is don't worry about what the outcome's going to be. Don't worry if it's going to be successful, if it's going to be a failure. As long, and I'll put the caveat on here real quick. If you're already established, if you've already made a little bit of money, if you've made a little bit of progress, and you have a standard of living, you have a family, whatever, be careful not to sink your ship. Be careful not to have a single decision or a single thing that will sink your ship. A lot of people, I listened to a gentleman speak the other day. He had been a wealthy millionaire for over 50 years. And no, 60. I think for like 60 years he was a millionaire, and he wanted to write a book, How to Stay Rich.
Oh, okay.
And no one would publish the book. They're like, no one cares about how to stay rich. You should write the title should be How to Get Rich. He's like, no. Any motherfucker can get rich. Mm-hmm. But to stay rich is the trick. So if you can stay rich for 60 years, and then you can pass that on to your family who can stay rich for 100 years, who can pass that to their family who can stay rich for 100 years, now it's way easier to become rich than to stay rich.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at most of the people that get passed down money, I think it's a high percentage. I'm not going to just blurt out a number, but like by the time money reaches its third generation is a high percentage of people that lose that money.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right? So my caveat to the whole thing is be careful as you're gaining some wealth and as you have people that count on you. Don't do things that are going to sink your ship completely.
Yeah.
Okay? With that being said, now, if you're looking at something, and I'll do what Sam and what our path is right now. We kind of have a good idea of flipping. Mm-hmm. We've done a few. We know we have a pretty good idea what's going to make money and what's not going to make money.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get into stuff and it's like, oop, we underestimated that one. There was a little more work than expected. Guys took a little longer than expected, whatever, right? Okay. But for the most part, we know if we're going to make money.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're moving into building this year. And I've built before many times. I've never built on my own. Okay. Well, I've never built fully from ground up brand new. We've done additions, things like that, right?
Yeah.
But so moving into this new thing, I know building a place, we know the budget we have and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, we're going to build. We're going to see how it goes. We know how to build. Do we know if it's going to be as profitable? No. We have an idea of the budget? Yeah. So will this project sink us? Absolutely not. Will it be very fruitful? Who knows? Mm-hmm. We're going to find out. But the idea and the thing behind it is like we're focused on our body of work.
Yeah.
We are worried about, hey, we know how to do the work. We're going to do the process. We're going to see what happens. We have no idea what's going to come from that.
Right.
We could build that and maybe someone sees. While we're doing that process, someone sees, maybe a vendor, whatever, that we just built this. And they go, hey, we really like that. We know X and X who wants that built. Awesome. We can do it for them. You know what I'm saying? Mm. Or maybe we get to the end. We go, man, we didn't make much money on that. That wasn't like something we enjoyed doing. It took a lot more headache than we expected, whatever. Then we know, hey, we went through the process, whatever, but we focused on the body of work. Now we get to the end, we notice all that stuff. And maybe because we realize that stuff, we do a different path. We pivot. We try something new, right? But we're focused on the body of work, not the outcome. Mm-hmm. So whether it's a success or a failure really is irrelevant. It's more like focus on the body of work because you don't, like, we have no idea what that can bring us afterwards.
And you got to think of like all the skills that you like, the skills and insights you learned during that process.
Right.
Because very easily, like, sure, we could lose money, but we could be like, okay, well, this portion of it took longer than we expected. Can we hire someone that'll be faster, and then that'll help us make money?
Or can we just bid more for it?
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah, that is an interesting, because we do talk about like your vision and your outcome so much more, but yeah, we don't talk about like the process.
Right. Well, and that's like something I fully believe in, and I talk to people about it, but I don't phrase it this way, like about the working on the body, is we've got such a long life. You think that these years are imperative, right? You think that these years are like whatever. They're important, but don't be afraid to make some mistakes. Don't be afraid to maybe not go as fast. Don't be afraid if you're not progressing as well as others. An example he gave, that Robert Rodriguez, that I really liked, was that there was a director that he came out with some films, and the films were timed poorly based on like things that were going on in the world. The films that came out were poor timing. But if you watch them, you'd be like, how isn't this a hit film?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just because of the timing, it didn't get the traction, whatever. That individual ended up retiring, moving out of the country. But Robert Rodriguez remembers watching the film when it came out and going, man, I love that film. Fast forward like 25 years, 20 years, something like that. That guy that he watched his films that he really liked didn't have a successful career, retired from filmmaking, moved to a different country, was whatever. Robert Rodriguez remembered that movie and loved it. Called that guy, said, hey, I would like you to co-direct or whatever, help me make this film. Okay, awesome. I'll come help you make this film. I'm retired, but I'll help you make this one. Comes back, makes that film. Because he makes that film, he gets like reinvigorated and makes a TV show called Lost.
Shut up.
This guy's retired. He's already done filmmaking. He already had his whole career. It wasn't a successful career. He was done. Some random guy that watched his film 25 years ago was like, hey, dude, I really liked your film. I was wondering if you would make this film with me, but I'm retired. Well, why don't you just come make this one with me? Okay. Then he makes Lost. Dude.
That's insane.
So it's all about like that right there of like, you don't know what you're doing today that could pay dividends in 25 years.
Right.
I think I heard something.
Yeah.
So that's the whole concept behind like the body of work. You don't know what's going to happen, but the more you work on it, the more it'll get there. Do you got some good stuff on it? You want me to grab baby?
Oh, if you want.
All right, you can talk now.
Okay. It's just like such a neat thing because here, hold on. I'm turning down the thing while Shaun goes and grabs her. It is just such a neat idea to focus about the body because one of the things that we were talking about too was brand recognition. And so if you do a good job during the process and like really do well with like customer engagement and whatever, like that can really help you get more jobs in the future if the process is smooth or you're very communicative or whatever. And then people start recognizing your brand and then you may get more jobs because of it. But if if you're not like communicative or the process isn't smooth, then people aren't going to care if the end product is good. Right?
Right.
Like if the process is bumpy and it's 3 months longer than it should have been, but the end product's beautiful, they're going to be like, okay, like, yeah, this is nice, but it took 3 months longer.
Right.
Versus if you're very communicative and you're like, sorry for the delays, like it's the
vendors,
yes, thank you.
back orders, shit like that, change orders.
Right. And it's like if you make it, if you try to make it as smooth or as pleasant as you can, and maybe try to make it not last as long, and you get the same end product as the other one, they're going to be so happy, so much happier.
Right.
So that is like something to really focus on, is to making, like, especially if you work with customers, the whole process be as pleasant for them as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Rob Bailey talks about this a lot, about like branding and making like the customer experience like really awesome. And that's something like Shaun and I have noticed when we buy from Flag Nor Fail, is like the packaging is beautiful. The emails that I get are like so just thorough. Like they'll send you emails constantly of just like, your package shipped out, your package is arriving today.
Right.
Did you enjoy your package? Like they send a lot of emails. And then he also said, actually, he did a free webinar the other day. He said that if there's a delay in the shipment, like not from them, but like from any shipping company that they use, they send out an email with that as well. And it's like a personal video from Rob that says like, I mean, I'm sure it's the same recording, exactly, but it's still a video from him saying like, sorry for the delay, like unexpected things happen, blah, blah, blah. And then when we get our stuff from Flag, do they write personal notes?
I don't think so.
No. But I do know that your 10th order through them, they send you free stuff.
That's right. And how do we know that, Sam?
I see it on the DLB Daily.
Oh,
we haven't gotten 10 yet.
Wait, for real?
Because we use 2 separate accounts.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Foolish of us.
So on mine, we're at 6.
Makes sense.
I counted one day because I was curious how close we were. But like he said, like he throws in free stuff as well, like some random times. And so yeah.
I used to order from some fucking research chem sites and shit for my good stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember, dude, the goodies that used to get thrown in there just for, they'd be like, oh, dude, try it out. And I'm like,
dope.
Sad.
What did we get that we got like, I thought there was something recently that we got like something pretty awesome and for free. I don't remember what it was.
Me neither.
I don't know, with our overalls that we got from Flag, came with a carpenter pencil and a lighter. So that was cool.
And a little notebook and stuff.
Notebook? I didn't get a notebook.
Like a little notepad, yeah.
What?
You have it? No, you got it. I know you have it. It's a little line paper. I'll show you.
Okay. I don't think so.
I know you got it because Brooks got it too. So there's no way you don't have it.
Okay. So yeah, that's like another way to think about the body of work, is like just the process and making the customer experience outstanding.
Yeah, dude, I mean, your brand is going to say a lot more than, like, your brand will say a lot. If you are putting the customer first, you're putting the experience first, that's going to show a lot in your favor. Mm-hmm. You know, and that might not be as profitable or whatever, but as Andy says, success is in the inefficiencies. Mm-hmm. Or something. He says something like that.
Yeah.
Something's in the inefficiencies. Anyways, is it success? I don't know.
Profit? No.
No.
It's at your desk at work, I know.
Yeah. Anyways, what I will say on the same thing is like, you don't, you can think something to death, but until you start doing it, it doesn't fully come together, right? So like I'm gonna give this example. Kyle and I one time had to rebuild a wall. An exterior wall got rotted, and Kyle and I had to rebuild it. And you can sit there and look at that back wall as long as you want, but until you get in, you're not gonna like know what is required to rebuild it. You know what I'm saying? So you can like think about it like, oh, cool, but until you're there and doing it, you know, you don't get that feedback. And same thing like in like jujitsu or whatever, like until you're doing it, you don't get that same like feedback loop. You know, you can think about it, think about what you're gonna do, but then like actually getting in and doing it, like everything comes together, right? So when you're doing something, just starting, like, so having an idea and then just starting helps you kind of piece it all together. Yeah. Like if you've ever tried like writing a blog like we wrote, or podcasting, like if you try to make a plan and have a script, it's a lot more difficult than if you just get in and just start like letting it flow. Like just start writing, you have a topic, you start writing, and then you can just like, things will shift and change. And there's times writing blogs where I end up deleting half the damn blog because as I'm writing, shit changes and forms into something else. And
or I'll start on one topic and then it'll go a different direction. I'm like, actually, I want to write about this instead.
Right. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you need to just get started to get to where you're going.
A post that I just saw the other day that Shaun, I believe, sent me is everyone always says like, I'm going to start having kids when I'm ready to have kids. And then they're like, you'll never be ready to have kids because it's always, it's so much different than you're ever going to expect. And so you're not going to be ready until you just get in and do it.
Right.
And I feel like you can apply that to everything.
Every single thing, you're not ready till you do it.
We're doing yard work right now. And we thought it was going to take a lot less time and be a lot less laborsome than it was until we got into it and we're like, okay, this is going to take a lot longer. Let's pivot and do this, and this instead.
Dude, I mean, that right there is so good to know. And so is like what we do for construction. Like, okay, there's a lot of times we have to, this fucking kid, dude. There's a lot of times when we have to do yard work. Yeah. So knowing now that like, oh yeah, you want to reseed a yard? That ain't no small endeavor. An example is this week, I bid out a job for framing, and I just know, like, have an idea of what like an average size basement takes to frame. Yeah. And so we're doing just a bedroom. So I was like, oh, we could just cut the hours by like a quarter. Like this is nothing. The problem is the room that we're doing is the utility room. So we got to go around, frame around all the utilities, frame around all. And so, dude, our framing for this one room turns out is 3/4 of a basement. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like in my, like, so then I'm there framing and I'm like, oh my God, dude, I so underestimated this. Like now I know moving forward, like the reason a basement takes so long to frame, or the reason a basement is because of the utilities going around the utilities. Yeah. The walls are nothing. Yeah. Stubbing out a bedroom is nothing when you got nothing to work around. What takes the longest, and essentially like 2/3 of the process, is this room we're doing.
Yeah. So it's, just focusing on the work and taking in all the insights and lessons you learn while doing it. And not just trying to get to the end. Yeah. Enjoy the process. Right. Learn from the process. Yep. This is like working out, like we've talked about a lot. Enjoy the process. Tweak it when you realize, hey, I'm not growing any arms. Why am I not growing any arms? Maybe because I'm only doing these exercises. Let's try and pivot and do some different exercises. So yeah, You can literally, yeah. I really like that, actually. I think it's good to have an idea of where you're going, but you never know what curves in the road are going to pop up along the way.
Right. Exactly.
I like that.
Cool. Well, guys, focus on the body of work and take action.
Get after it.
Bye-bye.
See ya.